Hey guys, welcome to Power Within with me, Amy, your heart whisperer therapist. I'm a good wife.
Vicky, I'm the queen of rapid hypnosis.
Together with the Eastwoods, and we're going to be covering therapy,
Hypnotherapy,
couples relationship therapy,
hypnosis, and all the other shit in between.
If it's current, if it's relevant,
we'll be covering it. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to Power Within. Today we are actually filming from New York with the famous red steps behind us. Thought it'd be a good one for us to share our experience in New York with you guys.
Yeah, and quite relevant because today we've resisted for as long as we can talking about hypnotherapy. I like to think you've got an understanding a little bit of who's behind the camera now, and you can trust in what we're going to start to share that we're not full of shit.
And hypnosis is actually real. People have experienced hypnosis, even the most scepticalist of people that I've been seeing, and throughout our time doing hypnosis over the God knows how many years, but we've just done today is we're going to try to find people in New York, so we might end up posting a little bit on this podcast.
Yeah, people that don't quite know that they're voluntary, but they will be. But guys, what is hypnotherapy? We've been conducting it for a while now, and I describe it as phenomenal. Done right, it's life-changing for people, isn't it?
It is, yeah. People are sceptical about hypnotherapy and hypnosis. They always think, I don't like hypnosis because I always want to be in control. And that's never the thing. You are always in control in hypnotherapy and in hypnosis. It looks like you're not in control, but you actually are. So all you got to do is relax. And
yeah, your conscious will never allow whoever's sitting in front of you doing hypnotherapy to do something you didn't want to do. And that's probably one of the biggest fears, isn't it, for people when they first reach out. And I'm very aware when somebody's reached out for hypnotherapy, if you're fortunate enough to have understood that it exists, they're usually at their lowest.
Yeah.
Or they've usually took their fear or their phobia or their situation to the biggest frustration ever. So they've got to the conclusion of saying, I need help. It's worth a try. And that's all that we really require is somebody willing.
Yeah, and even in hypnosis, the first thing I'll always say is, do you want to be hypnotised? And they'll say yes. And that is the subconscious part of you allowing me to do my work. And also the power of suggestion is phenomenal. You might think, well, once you've left or gone away, you might see that it's not worked or I wasn't in hypnosis, but you are in hypnosis. Even just the power of them suggestions is the power of change.
Yeah, and I always say to anyone new that's sitting in front of me, and I know you're similar, but I always say to them, gift yourself 3 sessions. Now, I'm not going to contract you for 6, 7, 8 sessions. I often don't think you need that many. But if we talk about behaviours and often learned behaviours in the subconscious, we might be talking 10-year habit, a 15-year habit, and we only wish we could undo that work in 1 session. The reality is the subconscious would do it little by little. And so I always say gift yourself 3, because you're not gifting it us. Gift yourself 3 sessions, you will start to notice the difference. That is almost a promise.
Yeah, it might not always be with us. It's not like I said to you before, it's not about you guys coming to us for help or anything, but just actually to know that there is actually help out there. Unfortunately, yes, you will have to probably pay for it with other people, but if you want that change, there's thousands of hypnotherapists out there. Yes, there's some good, there's some bad, but that's like in any profession what you get. There's good and bad. But once you find the one, hopefully they'll be able to have the key to unlock all your problems.
Yeah, I think this podcast is about simply just awareness, knowing that there is an alternative. Like even the other day when we were at work and I spoke to that lad, a guy that we know for a while, he says, oh, what's this new adventure? Because he's seen our stickers around the club. And so I just shared, look, we started a podcast and it's about awareness, it's about change. And you would never understand to look at him, but he says, I suffer with anxiety really bad. He says, 5 years ago I thought, he ended up in A&E anyway, he thought he was having a heart attack. And I said to him, and this is our take on it, is you either learn to manage it or you just medicate it. And I said to him, how have you got over your anxiety? He went, I've been on medication for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think the frustration being is 90% of the world, that's all you know. So you've got anxiety, you still need to survive, you still need to function, you still need to go to work, you still want to conduct yourself in a way. And the only solution from a GP, well, what was he on, sertraline or something, is there you go.
But that's what thousands of people are on, and I think there's a new medication each time what can help people. And it does help people, so we're not saying that's a bad thing. But you've got so many medication down the line where pharmaceuticals are like earning so much money, and the first step, and it's affordability for people as well. So I think a lot of people can't afford to go and see a hypnotherapist at 60, 80, £100 a session.
Yeah, and
That's
I get that. And I don't know if we're ever going to influence the NHS, you're laughing, to change, to imagine having a little bit of hope. And I know it comes down to funding with medicines, and we're probably going to get shot one day for saying it, but imagine there's an alternative and you don't have to... I see a medication as masking a problem.
Yeah, it's a plaster.
Yeah, like anything, you might need to take the plaster off and fix a wound, otherwise it's not going to heal. So you can medicate anxiety for 5 years, 20 years, whatever being. And what he was saying, his family had anxiety really bad. And sometimes we can inherit these behaviours because he didn't know where it came from. And so, okay, he's medicated currently. I've told him to come and see me. I believe 3 or 4 sessions later, he could let go of his medication. But the bigger thing for him, and the bigger thing that you want to hear as a parent, is you don't want your kids to then learn anxiety and be medicated in 10 years' time. So he is going to come and see me.
But we're not also medical professions either. So there's a lot of things what you do need to go on medication for. So hypnotherapy is a possible solution. It's also something what you can work on throughout your time. But the difference between hypnotherapy and therapy, well, therapy is absolutely phenomenal too, but it's a long-winded process, I think, therapy. And Amy's obviously the little heart whisper therapist out there, what helps people and guides people to greatness as well. But also she does hypnotherapy, so there's a lot of times when people see Amy and then now they'll go through and have hypnotherapy with you as well, don't they?
Because I think you get the results a lot quicker. And the difference between therapy, okay, you can come to me, I've created a safe space, we can talk, you will offload, you will learn to navigate your own behaviours. Hypnotherapy, you almost get to relax, you've given me your problems, and now we can talk back to you in hypnosis. And I'm not talking to you at a conscious level anymore, I'm talking to you at a subconscious. And when we start to share what this means for some people who are naive or has never even had to look at it, we often live in a 90% subconscious state.
Yeah, you're in your subconscious state up to like 95% of your time until you're up to age 35. After the age of 35, it's just 5% on your conscious where you are, because you've learned you've got all your learned abilities there, what's obviously programmed into you, like driving a car, all the other things. So yeah, you are living in a subconscious world where we actually don't realise.
Yeah, at which point hypnotherapy can change learnt behaviour. And when somebody comes to me sceptical initially, and we totally get it, 90% of you will be sceptical, which is why we've resisted touching on this until you understand who we are. You're allowed to be sceptical. The only difference being if you go and see a hypnotherapist, be willing.
But 80% of people's always ask me as well, can everybody be hypnotised? And it's up to about between 70 and 80% can get hypnotised on a rapid induction, what I actually do. The other like 20% is where you can be hypnotised, everybody can be hypnotised, but you will be like sort of talked into hypnosis, where it's a bit like a meditation state of your subconscious. But that's where the way I've explained before, where your brain waves are, where you're in like now your beta brainwave, alpha brainwave, theta brainwave is the most powerful brainwave there is, and delta is where you're asleep. So your beta brainwave basically is where you are conscious and fully aware, like we are now. Alpha is sort of where you're sort of watching TV and sort of just chilling in a really nice relaxed state. And theta brainwave is where you're almost asleep, but you're not quite asleep, so you're hearing everything around you. But that is the most powerful state you can be in. That's where change can happen. And delta is when you are asleep. So they're the most powerful brainwaves you can be in.
And everyone's got them, so therefore everybody's suggestible. Everyone
Absolutely.
can change a behaviour. And I think how I've had to simplify it when people sit in our space is, think of phones nowadays. Everyone's got one. Everything we put on, I've got a text from 2018 still on my phone. And it will stay on there until I delete it. And the way the subconscious works, it will learn behaviours, it will hold on to habits. Sometimes fears, it's the way the mind will keep you safe. Hypnotherapy can effectively reprogram that stored behaviour. It's like pressing reset on your phone. And I can only describe it as phenomenal, done right. Like some of our client work is an absolute privilege. And I've said it for so long that we don't do therapy and hypnotherapy as a job.
No.
It really doesn't feel like a job. Sometimes, yes, if you reach out to us and you're a private client, we charge. And even that's hard sometimes. Like I've got a new client at the minute and I'm arguing with myself because I don't want to charge her. But in my supervision, I get called out all the time about boundaries, about my worth, my time. So I have this argument constantly. But I feel like it's a privilege. And I don't want to be offensive. I've said this, haven't I, a few times. I don't want to be offensive when I say this because it's not intended. Because I've never been to a gospel church. But I imagine if I just plant the seed, there's a gospel church and there's you or me standing at the front and they just pour every bit of energy they have into that church, into them people, into that Sunday hour, whatever it be. I feel like that's how we conduct hypnotherapy.
Yeah, I'm sometimes knackered because I give that much energy into that hypnotherapy session where I'm like, it is like a pride and it is a passion. So yeah, they're positive suggestions, but sometimes the funny thing is you might see someone and you'll like give them even a short hypnotherapy session and they don't realise how powerful it's been, and then and the next session they'll say, oh, this has happened and that's happened, and you're like, I get it, you've this change there. It's just that implementing that power that you've got, and all these positive things have been sort of flowing in with them. And you're like, absolutely, but I can't even take credit for it because it's not actually us what's actually making the change. It's you guys.
I think that's the biggest key. Like, you have to want the change and it works. Like, I remember I've got a lady she was my only online client, but she lived in Essex. She got sugar addiction. Now, I know she goes to the doctor and says, doctor, I need help, I've got sugar addiction. She's either getting a diet plan, passed to a nutritionist, or even potentially now getting prescribed one of these injection pens. Because, yes, she was overweight. But a sugar addiction, and this is why she reached out to me, because I work closely with addiction. The sugar addiction could be just as harmful as a heroin addiction, except it wouldn't be treated the same. The way the mind works with an addiction is still a release.
Yeah.
It's still the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sugar seemed harmful. Yes, she's overweight, and yes, we had to work through some stuff. But she had so much trauma, and she doesn't mind me sharing this. She had so much trauma that we had to release little by little through hypnotherapy. And I would love to show her on camera one day. But even though we push in a little bit of hypnotherapy on you right now, if I showed her in a hypnotic state, 90% of you would never have a session. Because
it's a very rare episode what happens. She kind of, her body shakes, and not many people, I've never experienced that with anybody. You was like a little bit, do I stop this? But it's online. We do work online, but I tend not to. So I like to feel that, I like to be there. And again, a bit like that gospel church where I like to just notice every single thing about people, like where the eyes are moving, even when they're closed, the movement of the mouth, the hands twitching. You know if you're actually touching on something what you shouldn't touch on, and then you know you can actually work around that. So yeah, hypnotherapy, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and she was emotional, and her shoulders were going, and she was twitching. And I actually was like panicking the first session I ever had with her, because I thought she looked like she was going into an epileptic fit, and I was thinking, shit, like I've got a camera through me, like there's no port of call now to bring help in because there was no one home with her. So I brought her out of that first session a little bit quicker than I would have done. And she was smiling and she was happy, and she embraced everywhere she went. And then she said to me, oh, I've had hypnotherapy before, that's what my body does. So then I could relax into it, and now I talk to the subconscious and she answers back, and I tell her to allow her body to do what it's meant to do. And she's also a great demonstration of just how much the mind controls the body.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, you talk about migraines, but...
Yeah, so I seen a lady for migraines. In all fairness, we were just chatting away. And I'm like, I actually can help you with this. I said, just give me half an hour of your time. And she put it off. And I thought, I'm leaving you to it, because like, it doesn't really matter to me if you don't want these migraines to be there, then that's okay. So she ended up coming to see me, and the first session, she didn't have a migraine for about 16 weeks, and she was getting them 4 times a week. And then, as we touched on it, she called me up and said I had a migraine. First time she had a migraine, it's been 16 weeks. And I says, is there anything happening around you, like currently? She says, oh, Christmas is coming up, and that's when a relative passed away. So then I said to her, well, come and see me for one more session. And I did that with her. And she emphasised that she's never really enjoyed Christmas since this person passed away. And then now, so I had to do a little bit of regression work in hypnosis, and a little bit of parts therapy, and I spoke to the parts of them, because everybody has parts, and people actually are sceptical about parts therapy, especially hypnotherapists in general. She then had the most fantasticest Christmas, enjoyed it with the kids, enjoyed it with her family. Songs what came on, what used to trigger her, none of that. And she hadn't had a migraine since, which is absolutely fantastic. And don't get me wrong, everybody would probably work that way. But that's how powerful it can be when she needs to work and she doesn't want these migraines to happen.
Yeah, and we can't change diagnosis. We're not even pretending. We're not doctors. I'm not saying don't take medication. I'm saying there's sometimes alternatives. Yeah. Hypnotherapy, we want to put it on the map. And again, not for our purpose, not because we want loads of clients. I would love one day this platform, you can access free material and have hypnotherapy at home, and it's not about a cost.
Yeah.
I would love this platform to take us there. The only difference is we're so personalised. If we did a generic script right now for anxiety, yes, it works, but you all would feel anxiety differently. You all will feel stress differently. So we can't do it on an individual basis, but we can do a generic, and you would get great results from it. So when we go back to her migraines, it just reminds you reminds us even how much the mind controls the body. The body will respond to pain, to illness, based on our mind. We have the ability to change pain, create pain, because what happened for her, what happens to a lot of you if you have migraines, you get overstimulated, maybe you're stressed, you have a migraine, you go to bed. That's your body's way of saying you will rest, you will sleep, you will recuperate, even if you don't want to do it. So consciously you'll go, I don't want to go to bed, I don't want a migraine. But we're not leading by a conscious, we're leading by the subconscious.
And also, what people don't actually see, and it's a true thing, is your conscious is actually your negative, and your subconscious is your positive. So when you have these arguments with yourself, everybody has arguments with yourself, like, oh, I knew I should have done that. Because there's the hidden subconscious is saying, no, I don't go and do that, that's wrong. And then your conscious is going, no, I got to do that, that's what you should do. And your conscious wins because you're the one what's leading that. So yeah, your subconscious will always be telling you in the back of your mind what to do. But that's your positive, and your conscious is your negative.
And it's changeable.
It's changeable.
That is what hypnotherapy does. It allows your subconscious to lead a little bit more.
But we
break
are
habits.
Yeah, but we're just human beings, and I know how many times I have an argument with myself all the time about things what I should do and things I shouldn't do, and then I know I always choose the wrong thing, and it does me head in.
Yeah, so we're no different.
Yeah.
We're no different at all.
Yeah.
And if you remember when we was in Dubai a few years ago, when we talk about migraines, because I think it could change for a hell of a lot of you with hypnotherapy. And there was a guy, our kids were playing with their kids. So naturally parents, you just end up sitting having a glass of wine with the parents. And he wasn't a doctor, was he? But he was something quite high up in the medical.
Yeah.
And his team, and I'll always use this as an example now against your client with migraines, his team had a £2 million study. Now, to us, that seems like a mega money. To medical, maybe that's mild, I don't know. £2 million study based on migraines, and how his team were treating it was for people that were born with mild heart defects. Under the microscope, hadn't healed, so he treated it as if it was the way the blood would travel across the body and up to the brain. So their study said if we put a mesh, if the blood can't travel, then it won't travel up. Okay, great study, £2 million later, it was flawed. Everybody still had migraines.
Yeah, 10 people still continue to have
and so
migraines.
It would be cool, maybe if there's 10, 15 of you that have migraines, at least on a weekly basis. When we say this platform's for you, it generally is. Like, touch wood, I don't suffer with migraines. But if 10, 15 of you wanted to reach out and do a study with us, totally free, I would almost put money on you'd fix 70%.
Well, it's not about me fixing them, it's about them fixing themselves.
You would change the way they...
Changing the way their mind processes. And then again, even hypnotherapists out there, go out and learn parts therapy. It is the most fantastic thing you can learn as a hypnotherapist. And a lot of people shy away from it, but it is difficult because you do have to negotiate between parts. You do have to speak to the higher self. You do have to incorporate so many different things. It is a powerful tool to use. There's so many hypnotherapists out there and a lot of trainers what can actually help people, help hypnotherapists change how they think. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm proud of the work we do. I'm happy with the clients that reach out to us.
Yeah.
And we have resisted it because we will start filming some of the rapid inductions. And initially you'll go, no, I'm not listening. That's full of crap. That's not real. We've got a guy at work and he'll watch this and he can laugh because he'll know it's about him. He's known us forever. He's one of our biggest advocates in the bar. We went to Dublin last Christmas with a couple of staff. It was a bit of a day treat, sponsored by our cause rep. And so we went to Dublin for the day. You ended up doing some rapid hypnosis on Leanne, one of our staff. She's that suggestible. She goes under really quickly.
But everybody is. If anybody who is suggestible does go under within 5 seconds, which is, people don't actually think that it's a true thing. But I will start and post a few little things out there. It's just I have to be in that moment of filming, and obviously, like I said to you before, I don't film anything. So going to start
we do
filming,
now.
I'm like all these people I've tried. I did somebody in Mexico. Somebody had a fear of flying just before we came back. Again, I didn't want to film it because it's a spur of the moment, good deed, good suggestion. So yeah, she's been in touch and thanked us for that as well.
But that stuff in Dublin, although he was watching it, and it's hard to not believe when you're in the moment because I don't think you could pay anyone to do some of the stuff that you were doing to her. Like you got her to imagine the lady across from us was Julia Roberts. Now if she's gone over, she wants a selfie, she wants an autograph. Listen, it's fun to watch. What we're talking about in hypnotherapy is the serious stuff, the life-changing stuff, but the fun stuff still plays a part.
Yeah.
But he was there, he was sceptical. Fast forward a year, he's in our bar a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Your dad was down and she was showing one of our new staff what you can do. Again, he was having some fun with him.
Yeah.
Said customer was sat next to him, he was like, I'm not buying it. It's foolish. I'm not having it. And you said to him, didn't you? Finally, she said, do you want to be hypnotised? And he said yes. So she's got him then.
Yeah.
And he couldn't believe it, could he? Like, he's been sceptical. You're allowed to be sceptical. He's been sceptical, although he knows. I said he knows there's no hidden agenda. And you had him massively, didn't you?
Yeah.
We've recorded it. His wife couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. He called it outrageous. And that's the fun stuff. So imagine everybody can be hypnotised. Yes, fun stuff. Everyone can change their behaviour. So if you're stuck in a way, if you're stuck with a fear or a phobia, hypnotherapy is, for me, needs shouting about.
Yeah. And let's hope that people do want that change and find that right hypnotherapist for you guys. And like I say, it's not always about seeing us. It's about putting hypnotherapy out there because it's so, I think, it's so dated where you see like quite old people doing it. You know, the younger people are coming through and learning hypnotherapy, and there's so many schools or unis out there what you can actually learn hypnotherapy through. Like, go find somewhere, go even messaging, and we'll take you to the right place where.
Yeah. I suppose the hope is the bigger it got, the more accountable the NHS would have to be listening that it can be an alternative. Because at the minute they won't prescribe it, they won't fund it, they won't offer it. Can that change?
Maybe they could change because they give a lot of people 6 sessions of CBT, but if them people what was trained in CBT could do hypnotherapy as well, so it's 3 sessions CBT, 3 sessions hypnotherapy, it would all like sort of link into one.
Yeah.
And again, that's where the change could be, because I think the NHS has said that, like your mum had CBT, didn't she?
Yeah.
And it was only at the point she only had like 2 sessions. She's like, this is a load of rubbish, I'm not having this. So then the NHS has ticked a box and she's not gone back.
She looks like she's a stat that's worked, and you know, this is another day's conversation because my rage will go, my eye will be popping out my head because it's superficial. For me, the 6 sessions that the NHS provide is a surface level fix. Yes, it's quick. Yes, it's maybe cheaper for some reason. But once you've left the system, you look like you're a statistic that's worked. And you're not. You've either gone private or, the biggest ball ache, you're learning to manage yourself. You're learning to manage the anxiety. You're learning to manage the fears and the phobias and the stresses and the migraines. Because you just learn that it's part of you. Like our friend client that she did, 6 years she's had migraines for, and it's only because she knows us that we can talk her through it, and she's had some sessions that she can erase it from her life. And I know there's tons and tons of you out there, so...
And I've only seen her twice. That was just a two session, like, hypnotherapy session, which I did. One was like parts therapy, one was a little bit of regression with parts also thrown in. And again, they're not massive. It's not like on a massive scale, but like I said, people can learn parts therapy in hypnotherapists out there, and it should be shared. But it's like I say, it's so dated, and it's not something what people teach. But like, if any hypnotherapists out there want to learn, then click onto...
You're going to become a tutor?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Click onto Roy Hunter's parts therapy book. He's out there, and he's like a lead teacher of parts therapy. Not everybody's up for that because it is a really hard task, because it's a big argument between both parts, and you're the mediator between them. I'm telling this one to learn it. She's still
I will,
on the fence because she keeps throwing everybody to learn. She keeps throwing everyone to me.
You're so good at it, and you come to see us, you might get the best of both. But guys, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you go, oh, I suffer with migraines, or I suffer with this, I can't really reach out for a free session. I can't really be the one that they're talking about. This is what we want from this podcast. We want to change things. We want to change outdated policies. We want to upset some of the outdated stuff. But if you suffer and you're going, oh, that would be wonderful, but maybe they don't mean me. We do mean you. I'm not saying we can change the world for everybody, but message in, come and see us. This isn't a false promise. This podcast is yours.
So anyway, from New York, Times Square.
Starving.
Not had breakfast or coffee or anything just yet. We'll see you soon. Thank you very
Be
much.
safe.
See ya.